Kia ora, welcome back everybody. Here with another reaction to Mr. Big Phil Campion, SAS selection. This part is number 7, the interrogation, escape and evasion phase. So let's jump in.
I know you've been waiting for this one because I gave you a cliffhanger, didn't I? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. It was nasty of me, wasn't it? Yeah. Right. So if you remember, I was in the pen and we were talking about stuff and we were brought together and they said, you've got to go into this building to go and sign some paperwork so you can continue on the rest of the course. So duly off, I got up. I remember a couple of people went before me and they didn't come back. And I thought, well, nothing unusual with that. They must be going, they must be signing the paperwork and going on to the next, whatever they got to do. So it got down. I was about halfway through the group. Can't remember exactly how big the group was, but then it's my turn. And I remember walking up to this building, a couple of vehicles parked outside. One of the DS going, yeah, in there, Phil. First name terms by now, which was nice. So off I go, walking up the steps. As I walk in, I notice a door open in this room. And as I stick my head round, I'll get shoved in the back, right? I'll get pushed in the back. And I remember turning round. And there's about 3 blokes running at me. So I head towards the door that I was going through thinking, right, I'm out of here now. As I go through that door, another 3 blokes come across the room. I get hold of the first one, bring him round here. Second one's on my back. I'm trying to pull him over. And I'm getting into a bit of a tear-up. I sort of like in my own mind now switch on and think, this is obviously part of the plan. And think to myself, if I start chinning people now, I could actually drop myself in a bit of trouble. So I had initially thought, right, I'm going to chin. I stopped myself. And I remember there was a little lad behind me. We had the Staffords, I think it was, who were doing our sort of like our enemy, as it were, or whatever it was they called them. But it was the Staffordshire Regiment. And I remember there was this one lad, and he was tiny. And he'd managed to get hold of me right arm. So I thought, what I'll do is, and he didn't know what to do with it. And he started pulling it and pushing it and almost biting down on it. And I thought,
I'm not sure if this is leading into, or if this is how it was back then, them going into their first phase of interrogation or something like that. Because it sounds to me like they haven't done the escape and evasion yet. And so they haven't really been worn down. I don't think. Maybe they have. Maybe this is that phase 1, because he did say in the other one that they had a chicken and they were getting a bit hungry and they managed to get a few eggs out of the chicken that they had, etc. And his one of the guys that was in his group, or his buddy or his peer, didn't want to kill the chicken, etc. So maybe this is part of that first phase, and then going into the initial testing block in terms of the resistance to interrogation. I think I touched on in the other reaction that we had 2 phases, one in the Coromandel where we had some other people, sort of sounded similar to what Big Phil here was talking about for theirs. And then we had an initial sort of resistance to interrogation phase, which was pretty basic and didn't last very long, maybe only a few hours from memory. And then, we were piled in and then went for phase 2. So maybe this is part of that. We definitely, there wasn't a time where we thought of, or where I thought of, I should say, where I thought of scrapping with any of the directing staff, because we knew that there's going to come a point where we're going to get Lincoln tuned up a little bit and grabbed and, given a few his hustles, I guess. And it wasn't that bad to be. I didn't think it was that bad anyway. So sort of similar to what Phil's talking about, you know it's going to be part of the course. It's something that is spoken about. I think Phil did speak about that as well. There was this talk about the resistance interrogation, escape and evasion phase. So you're going to, go in the bag and get doofed around a little bit. So it's good that at least he's aware of this now, with 3 guys coming in, pushed in the back, another 3 guys at another door. Hard case. Ours wasn't like that. Very different makeup. Ours is more that shock of capture and stuff at the end once you've supposedly made it to safety and you've been taken to a safe RV.
all right, what I'll do is, so I wrapped it up myself, put it up my own back into a gooseneck, and next minute I hear this young lad going, I got him, I've got him. So So whoever that young lad is who's been dining out on the story of how he captured the SAS man and put him in a gooseneck, I've just rumbled you, all right? I've just rumbled you. If you are out there, get in touch, let me know, because I'd love to shake your other hand properly, all right? But it was genius, all right? He literally claimed the kill, as it were. It was hilarious. Anyway, the rest of them piled on me. I then got whipped up onto my feet. A hood went straight over my head. Boom. You know what phase you're in now, don't you? You're in the resistance to interrogation phase. So straight away, I'm being conditioned. Dogs are on me. I'm being dragged down the thing. Dogs are barking. I'm being pushed around. I'm being dragged straight in, stripped. All my clothes have gone. I'm butt naked apart from the hood on my head. They get in. I hear the doctor say, right, search him. So the doctor stood behind me, right? The doctor stood behind me, and I hear the dreaded glove go on, snap, as it hits his wrist, like, do you know what I mean? It goes up your bottom, doesn't it? You know where it goes. The finger goes up my bottom. Do you know what I mean? Now, we had both hands on my shoulders. No, I'm joking, all right?
I was just about to stop it and say, we never had no finger go up. Well, I didn't anyway, not on NZ, not on the Australian one. So, hard case. And then the fellas just come, I'm joking. I was like, bloody hell. Well, sucks to be you, mate, if that's what happened over there. But clearly it didn't. He's just said now that he's joking.
Oh, what a horrible feeling, all right? The internal search. They'd had me bent over this table, all right, with my hands on the table. The doctor's gone in, and I'm like, my toes curled almost back to my shin. I'm telling you, it was a horrible feeling. It really was a horrible feeling. The doctor turned around at me. He said, he said, are you okay, son? I said, I think I can feel your wedding ring. He says, that's not me ring, it's me watch. No, I'm joking. Horrible feeling. It really was. Anyway, that's your internal search. You were then chucked out. They put you in these old grey coat and these old fatigues.
Hang on. Now I'm a little bit lost. I'm not sure if he reckons he's joking or not. So it sounds like he did get the glove went on and did get the internal search. So yeah, like I said, didn't have that. Well, that didn't happen to me in NZ or Australia. I don't know if it happened to anybody else on cycle in NZ or Australia, at least in my cohort. I don't think it did, but mind you, probably not something you sit around and, and talk about, I guess. But maybe. So yeah, sounds like, I don't know. Sounds like it did happen to Big Phil and their cohort and that over there. Why? I don't know.
And then you got sort of manhandled again, and you were bunged on sat on the floor, legs crossed, arms behind you, tied, hood on, dressed in this old stuff. You don't know what's going on. It's extremely disorientating. Next minute, I'm loaded onto the back of a truck, and I must have been on the back of this truck driving around for a good few hours. Again, you couldn't really see much. I'm trying to see out of the sandbag. I'm trying to look down, look around, see what's going on. I know there's other people on the truck. I can hear other people shuffling around, coughing, all that sort of stuff. But every time someone tries to say something, a hand comes on your head. Boom. And you're like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Oh, dear. You're in it now. And then before you know it, we were stopping. The back of the truck came down. My hood came off. My hands are untied. You're on the run.
This whole piece, okay, so he's just talked about that they're on the run, so that this is clearly a part of that initial piece for them. Then they're going to release them. They're gone there. That must be their escape and evasion phase, and then I'm guessing they'll have the resistance to interrogation after. So yeah, when they're a bit more weathered and worn and tired and sleep deprived and all that good stuff. So listening to him when he's describing all of that, when you're really disorientated, being dragged around, bounced around in vehicles for what can seem like a long time, knowing that there is staff in there or guards, usually badge members, staff, and then you're in there with other people. It's real, again, it's a really well done course. Teaches you, like I've shared at other times, it's just taught me one thing: don't get caught. But they're very, very good at maintaining that whole disorientation, maintaining that what the hell is happening, what's coming up next, and your mind is racing. So, or mine was anyway, thinking about, okay, what types of interrogation, or the training is coming back into my head. What were the lessons that we had on here? Okay, yeah, hard, soft interrogation, all these bits and pieces were at least racing through my head. And when he's talking about they'll come along, put their hand on your head, it's firm, but it's not to the point where they're going to like knock you out or anything. But you know to shut your mouth, you know to sit still in the position that they put you in, you know to just not muck around. They don't say anything, you don't hear anything, or at least for the most part anyway. They're not saying shut up or anything like that. It's just a silence, boom, right on your head, a bit of a shake if they need to, which means, keep still, stop moving. And yeah, you sit there and you keep still and you try not to move so you don't get another firm dunk on the head as you're going through. But it sounds like they're just getting released. So let's jump back into Big Phil's one.
This is the famous going on the run on selection. So literally you got forced given a piece of paper, and I just legged it straight away on my own, got away from other people as much as I could, opened this piece of paper up, and it gave me directions of where I needed to be for the next one. It was a hand-drawn map of where I needed to go for the next thing. So I got to the next place after I'd orientated this thing, worked out where I was, got to the next place, same thing, Agent RV, got given another piece of paper, boom. We went to this series of literally moving from A to B on your own. There's helicopters up, there's dogs barking, there's people permanently patrolling the roads, the locals are looking out for you and all that sort of stuff. So you can't really... You can take stuff off of people. You can go and take, food off people. You can knock them up. But if you get caught, that's it. It's index for you. So you run this sort of like risk of weighing up, can I get something? Can't I get something? And I was like, I just didn't want to get to this stage of selection and fail. So literally, I spent my whole time on the run, bouncing around. I did take a little bit of help off one particular civilian who gave me some food and that sort of stuff, but I didn't make it too much of a sort of like knocking on everybody's door like a beggar. Do you know what I mean?
Man, this is just listening to Big Phil describe theirs and how they do it there in the UK. One part that stands out that's very different is that they're each given, sounds like they're each given a hand-drawn map, and they're sent out on the run on their own. So that's pretty cool. In NZ and is it Australia as well, and in Australia, we were in a small team, and there was one set of misscaled or different scaled maps, black and white, that we had as a team to be able to navigate across the terrain that we needed to get to for the different agent RVs that Big Phil's talking about. There was times where, at least in NZ anyway, where we did end up being bumped or compromised by enemy party patrol, and we bomb burst and split up, and we did all end up separated on our patrol. We did reconnect again, members of the team that I was with anyway. But it was awesome. It was cool. Like, you're tired, you're hungry, you're cold, all of that sort of stuff is coming through. You're on edge. You're thinking, bloody hell, and where can I rest when that sun come out during the day? And if you had an opportunity to try to get some sun rays on you to warm yourself up, that was a beautiful thing, because nights were freezing cold, especially if you're by yourself. And that weighing up, do we try to tune up some of the enemy party to take some of their gear, grab a pack which would probably have some food and some sleeping kit or whatever in it? But no, we never did that. That wasn't part of the brief, but I think it was also just part of the, you don't do that. There was, I love how Phil just spoke about, there was a time where he got some support from a civilian. Yeah, definitely not on the Australian one. Yeah, not on the Australian one. In the NZ one, there was a moment there where I got some support from a civilian that was out in the middle of nowhere. So out in the middle of Waiouru, and getting that support with a bit of food was a real morale boost, put it that way. But listening to Big Phil and him talking about how separated and isolated they are, that's pretty cool. That's another level again, I think, in my opinion, because we started out as a team. We got bumped and compromised. We bomb burst, and we did end up separated for a while. Then we slowly sort of reconnected. I caught up with Kane Middleton, the guy that I spoke with a couple of years back now, We were on the same cycle. He went through, got badged, served in the unit, served with Willie and all that sort of stuff. Excuse me. But yeah, him and I, we got separated from our team. Then him and I ended up together. Then later on, as we progressed through, we reconnected with the rest of our team. But it's exciting, man. It's hard work, but it's exciting. Like, it paints the picture, at least for me, as much as they could. Like he said, with the helicopters, with the dogs, with the enemy force on the ground, it makes it feel very real, and therefore you treat it as such. And therefore, I think that's why the energy is so high, even though you're tired and you're cold and you're hungry and all that stuff is going on, and you're thinking about, you can't help but think about the next phase, what's going to happen at the next checkpoint with the agent, how long is this going to go on for, and then ultimately, you're going in the bag proper, and you're going to get probably tuned up a little bit more, and then go through that proper resistance to interrogation phase. So, a lot of memories listening to Phil here speak about the UK SF selection.
I found some cigarette butts in a some cigarette butts in a bus station, in a bus stop. I found some more cigarette butts in a telephone box. So I had a bit of tobacco, so I could have a little bit of a puff at night and that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? I was quite happy. And every time you made an Agent RV, you got given a cheese sandwich, 2 bits of bread, no butter, and a bit of cheese in it. But I'm telling you what, it was the best cheese sandwich on earth. It really was. And sometimes hovering around these sometimes hovering around these Agent RVs, you'd bump into other people who were also doing the same thing. So you might send just one of you forward to get the instruction. They'd get the sandwich and you'd share it. And that was the deal.
Wow, that's yeah. Well, for us with our teams, we did very similar. We just sent one person in, and one just sort of slightly back in case it wasn't the actual agent, and we needed to try to help the person that was going up for the Agent RV. But there was unfortunately no cheese sandwich or anything handed over. It was just nothing but the next set of instructions and the next coordinates to the next grid reference for our next Agent RV. But yeah, hard case listening to this fella. Cheese sandwich, I bet that was the best tasting cheese sandwich they were given.
And then obviously you keep saying, now I fell down a bank running away from a dog team on about day 4 or 5 of being on the run. And I cut all the back of my head open. I could feel it on the top of my head. I was like, oh no, this is ridiculous. Although it wasn't enough to stop, I knew that when I got in, they might well ask me to leave the course because I've got a great big gash on the back of my head. I'm like, oh no. So I don't want to say nothing. So the last couple of days, I patched it up as best I could. I kept moving. And then the last RV you go to, which you don't know when it's going to be, you get lifted. Again, it's hood back on, arms tied, thrown in the back of the wagon, dogs barking all over you, that sort of stuff. But when you're dragged out next time, you go straight into this like building where it's all white noise and interrogation and all that sort of stuff. And there's people screaming and shouting. And that's where you start getting interrogated properly. Now, I can't go in to too much of the methods and that used in interrogation. I'm not really supposed to do that. So let's just say it's tough, it's hard, it's horrible, it's honking. And it did get to play on quite a few people's minds who probably gave up while they were in that interrogation. It is intense, it's disgusting. But again, it's nothing probably compared with being captured for real. And, the shock of being captured for real. And I have been captured once, and I have been locked up as well in a non-forbidding country. Do you know what I mean? So I know what it's like. That shock of capture really is boom. It's like it gives you the driest mouth you could ever possibly have. So yeah, the training is extremely realistic. At the end of that, you come out of there, and I remember again the DS was sat in front of me, and they said, "Look, if you see the DS in front of you with mind tape on your arm, and somebody tells you the exercise is over, then it's over." And I just didn't believe him. I didn't believe it. It must have taken this time about half an hour for me to seriously believe that it was over and stop doing what I'd been told to do and all that sort of stuff. I was like, no, I'm playing this out. No, I'm not being caught. No, you're not going to get me. And eventually, I came round and I remember
just listening to him, man, I think it clearly, I reckon it must be the same for everybody. It's not something that I've really sat around and spoke with a lot of people about, but a handful of, in terms of guys that I've been through cycle with or guys that I've served in the unit with. But I think it must be something that is hardwired in there. Like, it is very realistic, or as realistic, I should say, as they can. I've never personally been captured in operations like Big Phil has. So, man, I'd love to pick his brain and hear, what happened, what that was like, in terms of the methods used in relation to the training that we receive, etc., or the training that they receive, and then the training that I've been lucky enough to be a part of in NZ and Australia. But man, it does, just like I've shared before, it just taught me to not get caught. You wouldn't want to have that happen for real, because what we got was the extremely diluted, watered down version of that initial shock of capture. Yep, get a little bit doofed around, but it would be nothing. It would be nothing. And I think anybody that's been through the training or through the course, the reality sets in. This would be nothing compared to what it would be like in reality. So yeah, full credit to Big Phil. Notice that he's spoken about not going into, so I was interested to see if he was going to speak about the details in the interrogation methods. So that's good. Some of that stuff stays, in-house. I suppose there's a couple of things that I would speak about. For me personally, I remember, well, there's a lot that I remember with regards to that. The Australian one is 72 hours, thereabouts, for the resistance to interrogation phase. NZ, I think it was reduced at the time when we went through. I'm not sure of the reasons why, but I believe it used to be around about 48 hours, maybe a bit longer. But our one, well, the one that I went through, it didn't feel like 48 hours anyway. So I don't know what the rationale or the reasons were at that time for that, and I don't know what it is today in NZ in terms of the duration. But you want to, anywhere between 48 to 72 hours is what I would recommend anybody sort of brace themselves for. But in Australia, a couple of things that I remember, when you're stripped down naked and you're going in for the interrogation, they're asking you things and they're doing things a certain way. There are times there was a very distinct time in the interrogation room. And for me, anyway, that was almost like a bit of a breather from where we were with the white noise, the hoods on, the earmuffs on, the blinking, getting slapped around a little bit, stress positions, etc. I suppose, softening you up before you go in there for the interrogation, and being made to, so you're standing there, they say whatever it is that they want to say about how feeble and pathetic and weak you look, and your junk down the bottom, all that sort of stuff. So it's just part of it, eh? And to be fair, it's probably shriveled right up when you're standing there in these cold rooms, concrete rooms, can't really see anything except these grey walls and the person in front of you. And then they tried to make me, so they said, put your arms up. Put my arms up, and they said, yeah, put them above your head like a ballerina. So put them above my head, and then they're like, now twirl around. And I just put my arms back down. I was like, I'm not doing that. I didn't say that. I just didn't say anything. Just put my arms back down. Didn't say anything. And then they did it again. Told me to put my arms up, put them over your head, put them over my head. They're like, now twirl around. I just put my hands back down again. Didn't play the game. And from that piece, they then started, they stopped doing that. They then started asking me some questions. And, it's supposed to go into the ICAT queue. I can't answer that question. Just give the big four: name, rank, serial number, date of birth. I didn't even answer that. I stood there. Just by then I was pretty, I was pissed off. So I stood there, butt naked. I didn't care. Wasn't about to twirl around for them. And every question they asked me, I just didn't say anything. Just either looked down, sort of didn't make strong eye contact, but I wanted to, and just looked down. They're like, are you, asking me a whole bunch of other questions. I didn't answer anything. Anyway, that happened a couple of times. Then there was a third time. I got brought out to sort of this opening area, and one of the boys, one of good mates, was in a cage. He's sitting there, arms are out to side, butt naked. It's cold, and the guards are standing to the side with a hose, not a full fire hose, but a hose that looks like it can pump out a fair bit of water. They do turn it on, not on him at the time, but they turn it on to show me that there is water, that it will come out. And yeah, they then proceeded to ask me questions, but also said that I needed to start answering questions, otherwise he was going to get blasted with this thing, and then who knows what else. Yeah, well, I started answering questions straight away in terms of name, rank, serial number, date of birth, and everything else was I can't answer that question. So those are two distinctive memories that I have. I don't think, well, he would have known, my mate would have known, because his back was to me while he was in that cage. He would have known who it was then, because I was giving my full name, giving my rank, giving my date of birth, giving my regimental number, and then the rest of it was I can't answer that question. But yeah, it drove home for me the reality of your mates, and also of the fact that you just don't want to get caught. Because my take, is just my personal take, not having been caught or a POW for real, I don't know how long people could hold out depending on what's thrown at you. In the training course on cycle or selection here in UK, you're not going to be tortured to death. You know that you're not going to be killed. It's a training course, and it's hard and it's tough, but it is not the real, it's not the real deal. They make it as realistic as they can, but it's not, you're going to either get to the end and fail because you gave away too much information, or you're going to get to the end and pass and then come away like I did, going, yep, just don't get caught. That's the lasting imprint in my brain anyway with regards to that course. So anyway, let's look to wrap this one up, and then we'll close this one out.
Remember, you go almost straight into a debrief. Now, they encourage you to try and take something on the run with you. And before you get lifted, a lot of guys would like swallow a Durex with a button compass in it and maybe a £50 note folded up and all that sort of stuff. And I remember saying to the guy, this interrogator, and he'd been a bit of a when he was interrogating us, and I thought, I'm going to have you when I come out of here. And he sat in front of me and he's going, I think personally, Campion, you would have probably died, blah, 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 blah. He was slating me. And he said, oh, by the way, did you manage to get anything out? Did you? And I said, yes, I did. I said, I got a button compass, I got a £50 note and a folding saw. And I can see him looking at me going, where did he put the folding saw? Yeah. Yeah, And if you're watching, son, yeah, well, there was no folding saw, all right? Yeah. Anyway, that was that. That was interrogation phase over. So now, really, there's a bit more to go. But again, I'll tell you all about that next time. How about that? There you go. You like that, don't you? Right. See you next time.
I do like that, Phil. Love the way you communicate. Love the narration that you provide to the context of the UK SF selection, and in particular to SAS. Yeah, awesome. Great to hear. Awesome to hear his insights. The debriefing at the end, I remember at the end of the Australian one, I don't remember the end of the NZ one. I don't think we had anything like that. But at the end of the Australian one, we come out, oh, yeah, because as he was talking about the white band, peace of mind tape, and then, they're telling you that it's over. Still took a little bit for me, and I think for anybody as well, to believe that part of the course was over. And on the NZ one, we had to provide. So once it was index confirmed white mind tape, remember how we've got this? It's like, okay, finally come around. Then we had to share and give the information that we recalled from the different agent RVs, what that was, because that's all part of it, in terms of we didn't have notebooks and pens to write it down. You had to recall the information and just hold it in your head in case you got captured, and in case you had things written down, then they'd take that off you, and then you'd be giving away potentially critical information which might help the enemy. So did all of that finally, and then I think that was probably pretty much it as far as the NZ. We didn't have, I don't recall us having the intelligence people or the interrogators coming around, sitting around. We did in Australia, though. We come out, and then there was a line of all the interrogators that were there for where we were, and then we had the blindfolds taken off us, etc. And then they're standing there and they're all like clapping their hands for us, just silent, standing there thinking, like looking for the ones that were trying to make me do this and then twirl around, like trying to find where the hell are those people. I'm still a little bit looking around. And then we did have a bit of a debrief, and they go through and they give you some of the points in and around how you conducted yourself, things that you could have done better or to be mindful of, and things that you did okay with. So it was some good feedback. Hard case listening to Big Phil saying that the guy said, "Oh yeah, you probably would have died." You know what? My personal take, hence why, in my mindset, etched in there is don't get caught. I think there's a very high possibility or chance that you're all going to get killed if it comes down to that stage. And so that's another reason why I was like, yeah, just don't get caught. Avoid that at all costs. Anyway, he's got more for us. We'll get into that next one as well. And I've got a few more other reactions and other work in that to do. But appreciate you, Really appreciate you sticking around, listening to me ramble on. Obviously, listening to Big Phil, go and check out his site. Go check out the information that's there, particularly for those that have been reaching out from the UK. I'm still happy to meet with you, and they've wanted to do that. So we've got those meetings booked, but they're a few weeks down the track just because of the amount of requests that have come through. But here's a great resource to tune into, to check out, to listen to. But again, thank you to anyone and everyone that's come across my channel, whether you're new here, whether you're a regular here. Really appreciate your support. It means a heck of a lot, more than you realize anyway. And on the back of that, as always, those of you, anybody out there that is going through hard times, challenges, or struggles right now, keep turning up. I encourage you to keep turning up. Just stay in the fight. Better days are ahead. The sun will shine again. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. So, yeah, everybody's going through some hard stuff and difficulties to varying degrees. So just keep trying to stick at it as best you can. Try to put yourself in a position, if you can, mentally, to just think of how could I potentially positively help somebody else. And I know that goes a heck of a long way as well. It will come back. So remember, go always a little further. Who dares wins. And until the next video, a big man away from me to you.